Good morning once again. And today, when I'll be talking about the B2B essentials, what I want to do today is I want to simplify it so that the results are much more consistent. Because as an agency, when we have to work, every agency, every company will have success stories. But if you need to create consistent success stories, you need a proper framework and it has to be very simplified. So today what we will do is we will try to create a very simplified understanding of what makes a marketing successful, especially in the B2B segment, and you can create that consistently by repeating that same framework again and again. And I've just used, as long as your foundations are clear, you can continue to repeat this again and again. So and one of the practice that you can do, and you might be seeing this in all the presentation, whether it is B2B, whether it is B2C, it's all about funnel. And one thing that you can do is in your company, everybody who is a part of sales team, marketing team, just keep reminding them it's all about funnel. And you need to have the patience so that people can go through that funnel and keep that. If you see those image, sometimes when we are not very clear about our funnels, sometimes we, drop out at the right moment when the sales were supposed to come in. And so you need to have a full funnel KPI tracking, and I'll be showing you some of the examples of how to do that so that you can get the right result out of it. And from knowing your brand to becoming an advocate and referring your business, so there will be multiple steps that will be associated with it, as Udit has also mentioned about it, as Naman was also speaking about it, and that is the whole process that we're looking at. The first thing that you need to look at it is what is the time frame that you are comfortable with and what is the time frame that your industry uses. So that you need to be very clear. Can you get an immediate sales in your industry? For example, if I'm selling digital marketing, can I get an immediate sales going to people and saying digital marketing kharid lo? Not possible. Because the time frame that you require cannot be a instant or immediate. You need at least 3 months, 4 months of period to build the trust, and you cannot shorten that by doing a lot of exercise. But can I change my product? Can I get into a digital audit? Can I get into a digital second opinion and get a faster entry? Yes, I can do that. So the time frame for your product has to be very much validated from the industry. And unless it is validated from the industry, you cannot look at the KPI. For example, what are the KPIs that you measure in your success story for digital marketing? What is the KPI that you will look at? The number of leads that you are generating, right? The number of sales that you are generating. But that can sometimes be a wrong KPI because your sales may not be happening in the first month. Your sales may not be happening in the second month. But are you measuring the full funnel KPI? Is your funnel moving in the right direction or not? That is why sometimes you can miss out the time frame that is there. So if you are generating an MQL, what is the timeline for that? If you are converting an MQL to an SQL, MQL is marketing qualified lead, SQL is a sales qualified lead. In a B2B segment, the nurturing will have to happen. So the first thing that you need to be very sure is what is the timeline your industry looks at and what is the timeline that you are comfortable with. Okay, so that will be your starting point. And I've defined certain things like what do you mean by short period, let me give you an example which may not be specifically from a B2B, but from a B2C segment perspective. In certain industries that we have looked at, is that in the first 6 months, whatever advertisement I do, I can create the funnel, but my ROAS or return on ad spend or my MER, marketing efficiency ratio, is generally very poor. But towards the last 6 months, even I'm spending the same amount of money, my returns will be very high. So should I stop spending in the first 6 months and wait to spend in the last 6 months? That will not work, because in the first 6 months I am creating awareness, I am creating the funnel, and the last 6 months I am getting the benefit out of my funnel. So you will have to have that patience and try to get the result out of it. Okay, and depending on the time frame, you'll have to look at different sections. For example, this is a market scenario. If you look at it, we call it as bottom of the funnel, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel. Also bofu, tofu, mofu kind of a wording that people uses in this industry. So if you want immediate result, you can get immediate result from the bottom of the funnel because they are looking for a quick solution, but only if you are able to convert it. You cannot get an immediate success generally at the top of the funnel if your product is not an impulsive product. So you need to be very clear that how your market is behaving, how your market is looking like, and accordingly you can go ahead and pitch it. So in fact, in the document that we have created, we have given a lot of details, and we have taken a 2-hour session only on this particular part and calculating CAC LTV and calculating the funnel level, metrics at all levels to make a decision. So I'm just giving you a brief, and later on you can go to the same webinar that is publicly available on the YouTube. You can go through that. And the lead, if you have to divide the lead into 3 parts, it's not very complicated. The first is, are you reaching the right people? The second part is, are you communicating the right product and communication to them? And the third one is, are you giving them the right experience? These 3 things can be looked at silo, and I'll show you the KPI related to it, that how can you look at KPI and work on it. Same thing, work on SQL and MQL. In the MQL, instead of my product and communication, it's value addition and communication. What value I am adding so that people can connect with me. Okay. Now let's look at 2 phases. Normally when you do digital marketing, sometimes we label it and we say that my marketing is not working. But what you need to look at it is at a unit level. Inside digital marketing, you have multiple channels. Under each channel, you have multiple campaigns, multiple audience. There are certain audiences and certain campaigns which are working for you. So the first stage that you should do is validate the unit metrics at a campaign level. How many of you know that how many campaigns are running for your business? You know you are working on digital marketing. But do you know at a business level how many campaigns you are running? Under Google in itself, there may be 20 campaigns, there may be 40 campaigns. Out of those 20 or 40 campaigns, maybe 5 are working. It's validated. And whichever is validated, you scale it up. Scaling up means market share. Okay? If you see, this is just a sample that I've taken from one of the dashboards. So the first stage is validation stage. There we validate, is my cost of traffic good? Is my experience of traffic good? Is my conversion very good? Then that is validated. Whichever is validated, I keep scaling it up. So you don't scale digital marketing. You scale unit level campaigns one by one. And starting, say for example, starting with the 40 campaign, 5 are validated, scale the 5. Other 40 keep working on validating that why it is not working. Okay? So that is 2 stages that you should look at it. You write down your campaigns and you try to look at whether it is validated, and then you are scaling it up. And now when you look at KPIs, so as I said, the first KPI that we generally look at is reach and impression. Are we reaching enough people? Is the cost of reach okay or not? That's the first level. But the second level is generally what we look at, whether we are converting or not. That is a wrong KPI to look at. Don't look at whether you are converting or not. Because if it is for a short term, then you look at whether you are converting or not. But in a long term, what you look at is whether your experience is very good or not. How do you look at experience? How many of you have seen LinkedIn Insights? I've taken a screenshot of it. How many of you have seen LinkedIn Insights, website demography for your website, if you are into B2B? Anyone who has seen that? This is, yeah, some of you have seen that. This is one of the most powerful tool to validate the traffic which is coming to you is a good traffic or a bad traffic. Because your conversion will not happen if your traffic is wrong traffic. Your conversion will not happen if your communication is wrong. How do you validate whether your traffic is wrong or your communication is wrong? And that is where you can look at your web, the traffic which is coming to your website using a LinkedIn Insights. And also what you do is you looked at Google Analytics and try to see what is their behavior. Another tool that you can use is, it is anything like a Hotjar. Microsoft has launched a free version called Microsoft Clarity. If you want to use a tool, it's called Microsoft Clarity. It is a free version, very powerful, and it is a kind of an alternative to a Hotjar kind of a equation. You can look at that and see whether your people are behaving in the right way or not. How many of you are tracking events on your website? Many of you are tracking events on your website. Now what you need to do is look at campaign-wise event behavior. All the people who are coming from different campaigns, are they behaving as you want on the event? Are they going to a book, ebook? Are they downloading the ebook? Are they clicking on the ebook? Are they going to blog? Are they visiting the blog, reading the blog? All of those things needs to be validated. So do not look at conversion as a KPI is one of my pointer, but before that look at user experience, whether the user experience was good. Because if your user experience is good, you have achieved a part of the funnel, conversion will happen, maybe tomorrow or a day after tomorrow. Is that point clear? That instead of looking at conversion as the final goal, and that is where sometimes we don't have the patience and we see that my campaign is not working. But actually your campaign is working. It is only that you have not given enough time to convert the funnel. Okay? So let's go to the next level. And then there are two teams that works. One is a marketing team, one is a sales team. And there will be a lot of to and fro. Marketing team will create the awareness, will create the interest, will create some level of consideration, passes on to the sales team. And after that, the sales team will talk to them. And sometimes the sales team says, the lead is dead. Then what happens? Will we declare it as a dead lead? Is the tagging right? Or should we put it back to the funnel if the profile is right? If you put it back to the funnel, the sales again goes to the marketing, again keeps on revolving around it. So that to and fro between marketing and sales has to happen, and the handshake between marketing and sales team has to be very smooth. So let me give you an example of it. If a person is visiting your website and filling up a lead form, okay, and say a person A and person B. So whom do you allocate? The lead number 1 and lead number 2 can be a very tricky situation. Because if a lead number 1 has spent a lot of time on your website, has visited 3-4 times before filling up the lead, and the second one is coming from a very bad campaign and have just filled up the form very randomly. So you give the good quality lead to a good person and a bad quality lead to a bad person, so your conversion rate will increase, and those things are done through leads, scoring and etc. So the handshake between marketing and sales has to be very well done. Else it will be a leaky bucket somewhere and you will be losing. And since, and this CSC LTV, I have explained it in very detailed. And this is something, if you don't understand this, you will always be impatient. Let me give you an example. This is a cloud company that we are working with, one of the largest cloud companies in the whole Asia. And when we started with them, they were spending only 5 lakh rupees on digital marketing. And within the 2-3 months, we started spending around 15 lakhs. And the CEO messaged us saying that you are spending a lot of money. It is too expensive for us. So then we did the CSC LTV calculation and showed them that it is not costly, it is a profit center rather than a cost center. And the budget went to 80 lakhs to a 1 crore. Because your marketing is the expense or a profit, only one ratio can tell you, that is CSC LTV. And below that, you will have to do a backtracking and seeing that at each part of the funnel it is happening or not. So you need to be very thorough with your CSC LTV calculation. And if you're wrong with that, and as I said, we have taken a very long session on this, almost 2 hours only on talking about this funnel and KPI. So please go through that webinar to understand. And one tip that I want to leave you with, most of the B2B activity happens on LinkedIn. One click on LinkedIn cost you anywhere like a 200 rupees to 500 rupees to 600 rupees, 700 rupees, one click on LinkedIn costs. But if you look at it, you are bringing the right audience because the targeting is very right on LinkedIn. But once they have visited your website, you are no more limited to do remarketing only with LinkedIn. You can do remarketing with YouTube. You can do remarketing with display. You can do remarketing with any other channel. So if you calculate your CPC with LinkedIn, cost per click, it's 500 rupees. But if you do a remarketing with a frequency of 5 or 6 or something, your overall connect CPC will come down to 100 or 50. So please use cheaper media for remarketing, not only the expensive media for remarketing. And that is a big miss. And not using YouTube for remarketing is such a big miss for your brand building exercise and for moving the funnel part of it. So please use that effectively to bring down your cost of reach and cost of touch points. And as I said, now look at 3 areas. One area is your reach channel, which is your Google advertisement, Google Webmaster, all of those panels where you get the data. The second data comes from your website. So the people come from an advertisement to the website. And from the website, it goes to the CRM. And then these 3 areas, if it is not very well integrated, because what is the buying cycle that you are looking for a B2B? 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And in all of that, reach, website and CRM, if it is not very well connected, you don't even come to know whether it is the same person who is visiting your website after 3 months. So that integration on B2B becomes even more critical because of the buying cycle. because your buying cycle is very high. That's why you need to integrate. And when you are integrating, there are many tools. And we can give you a list of the tools that you can use. I've just added some of the tools like Clearbit, Discover.org, and Bombora, which are all giving you third-party data which you can integrate, whether you are doing an ABM, account-based marketing or not. You can connect with all of this system. But remember these three systems. How many of your CRMs have a complete detail about which ad has given you that particular lead? Do you know which ad has given you that lead? Which campaign has given you that lead? If that is not available, so then you are not able to calculate at a unit metrics that which campaign is working for you. Let me give you an example. You run 3 campaigns. One campaign has given you 10 leads, second campaign has given you 10 leads, third campaign has given you 10 leads. And it has all gone to the CRM and total sales happened is 10. Now you are seeing that my 33% is my conversion rate. But there is a possibility that one campaign which gave you 10 leads also converted 10 customers. So you are running other 2 campaigns for waste. But if that tracking is not clear, you are not able to make a decision whether which campaign is giving you the success or not. You are running in an average, and average is always a wrong way of looking at KPIs. Again, in all of this, the fundamentals remains the same. Sometimes it's very boring. You have to do a lot of mathematics. Maja campaigns create karne mein aata hai, but sometimes that does not give you the result. The result only comes when you work very hard with respect to your maths and all the equation that you need to look at. And then generally reach is not the complex area. In digital, how many of you have heard about Power 5, Performance Max? Anyone who has heard about Power 5, Facebook Power 5? No? Performance Max, maybe many of you might have heard, Performance Max. So all the panels, all the advertising channels are moving to artificial intelligence, machine learning. Don't even have to put your audience. Just upload all your existing customer. They will only figure out what is your right audience. So reach is going to be much more easier, but segmentation, right segmentation, etc. will always remain a difficulty. So don't focus too much on reach. Reach is generally easy to come by. But what you focus is what happens after the reach. And generally the starting point of reach is going to be paid. Sometimes paid is cheaper than organic, because paid will give you a faster validation rather than organic, which is going to be for a scale and etc. So reach is not the major concern. The major concern will be the communication. In that communication, you will have to create a communication framework. It's a lot of hard work, You will have to do 20 iteration, 30 iteration, like everyone was talking about ICP. ICP is the starting point. Then you'll have to have segmentation. And if you get chance, read about segmentation on Wikipedia. I don't recommend Wikipedia pages for many things, but I have not read a better article on segmentation than that is there on Wikipedia. When to do segmentation, how to do segmentation, what happens in an industry in terms of segmentation, and then coming up with a communication. Do we have a separate communication for bottom of the funnel? Do we have a separate communication from the top of the funnel? All of those things, a lot of hard work, lot of boring work, but that is how marketing is done, and that is how the success ratios will be created out of it. Okay, so please focus on communication. The industry has moved away from reach. Why? Because everybody is reaching the right audience, everybody is communicating, but the real difference is, are you communicating the right messages to the right people at the right time? It is not easy. It requires a lot of frameworks to be created. And we will be taking one session on communication for full funnel, how to create a full funnel communication. And that will be a webinar, a part of DSS webinar that you can attend. And here also, these are 3 touch points: ads, website, remarketing. So you have to convey your message using all 3 touch points. Sometimes the advertisement is just a connect. Then landing page becomes the consolidation or the website becomes a consolidation. Then you have remarketing. And when you're doing social media, your audience remains the same. So you have multiple touch points and your communication is also multiple. So I'll give you an example of this. On social media, generally we use micro features to be communicated. And on advertisement, we use macro features to be communicated. Because your customer need to know both your micro features as well as macro features. So you use different channels to communicate separately, and it's like one person standing here and you need to hit them 20 times to make them fall for your product. And that 20 times, if you are hitting only with one message, It is one of the most frustrating thing. Have you seen on YouTube channel, one advertisement follows you and the communication does not change, it's the same advertisement coming to you? That is not remarketing, that is frustrating people to death. Remarketing is communicating multiple dimensions to the same person so that they understand more about you and then take a call about you, okay? So that is something that you should certainly look at that. And full funnel debugging, and look at each of this step and ask this question. Is it validated? My route and strategy validated? Is my traffic cost validated? Is my quality of traffic validated? When you look at a CTR, is my interest validated, etc.? So each of the steps, if your steps are validated, then as a business owner, only work on the step which is a hurdle for you. Don't work on digital marketing. Work on the area which is not helping you to move your funnel. So every time when we talk about marketing, we always go back to let's go and reach, let's go and reach, let's go and reach. But have you understood where is the problem and focus on that area? Then only the success will come. Okay. So again, as I said, it's not too complicated. If you put that into mathematical way, one by one, sometimes it's very boring, but this is what gives you the right kind of a result, and happy to help. And when you are as a business leader reviewing, you need to be very clear. Do you want to involve at a business level? Do you want to involve at a channel level? Do you want to involve at a campaign level? Somebody from your team should be doing one of this. If you are not capable of going to campaign level, don't get involved. Only stay at business level. But have the next managers focus on channel and campaign. If you're not aware of it, take a third-party help, get those frameworks ready, and then it becomes a very smooth run for you to take it to the next level altogether. That's more or less from my end. Any questions? Hopefully this was helpful to create a framework. Yeah, please. Oh my God.
What are the differences? And what is the difference between reach versus interest? Suppose we have some blogs on our website that generates some irrelevant reach. So should we delete it or should we retarget them, retweak them?
Right. So when you say interest, and what is the difference between interest and consideration, if that is a question? Interest.
Reach.
Yeah, interest and leads.
Reach.
Leads.
Reach.
Okay. So basically, interest can be an interest for your article, which may not be interest for your product. So you need to differentiate whether they have shown interest in your article or have they shown interest in your product. If they have shown interest in your article, then you need to look at it, the details that they have filled. Can you validate whether this is the right profile for you or not? So right profile means, are they from the right companies? Are they from the right department? Are they from the right decision-making factors and etc. All of those things. If they're the right profile, then you nurture them. Then you do remarketing with them. Then you put various elements towards them. But if you're not very sure, then what you do is you do call-out advertisement. So from a marketing, shift to the sales advertisement on remarketing, that is called call-out advertisement. If they are clicking on your call-out advertisement, that means you are testing whether they have interest in your business altogether, whether they have interest in your product. And that's how you can move the funnel. Okay, convert interest for your article to interest for your product. That's how you can move it.
And if that doesn't happen, should we delete that article, that irrelevant article?
If it is there and if it is not hurting you, but if you are doing remarketing, it is certainly hurting you. So you'll have to take a decision whether that will be a part of remarketing or not. Whether you want to delete from the website or not, that's a secondary call. But certainly remove it from remarketing list.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please.
In one of your slides, you had mentioned about when we talk about advertisement, in advertisement you are talking about some kind of a macro feature, and when it comes to social media, you're talking about micro feature. Can you differentiate between macro and micro features?
Right. So basically when you put an advertisement, you are reaching out to somebody who is new. So when you are reaching out to somebody new, you don't want to talk about a very granular feature of your product, because they want to know, why should I even consider you at the top level? So advertisements are generally very broad in nature, because you are reaching out to new people multiple times. So you will take 3 or 5 hero messages and go to the people. But once they have connected with you on a social media, they already know about your macro element. Now what they want to know is, what happens inside that tool? Do you know that my tool can give you a real-time update using these 4 levels of update and etc. That you cannot communicate on an advertisement, especially it requires more time, and that is how you can separate your communication from social media communication and from your ad communication. That's how you can differentiate. And that whole framework has to be created with a lot of hard work. And unfortunately, we all think marketing, especially digital marketing, is all putting advertisement on Facebook, LinkedIn and all, but actually it's a lot of hard work on Excel sheets before even it touches the panels, and that is where the successes are created. Yeah, probably the last question. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ajay. I'm a digital marketing strategist. So, and thank you. As usual, you were very effective. 2 questions I have. One, you talked about ROAS. Okay. So, ROAS, I know that ROAS can be different for all different industries, but whenever we start with, how can we measure, means a decent measure that 1 year we should be having this ROAS? Okay. Maybe from 0.20 to 2, but whatever.
Right.
One measure.
Right.
This was my first question. My second question is that you talked about Power 5 and Performance Max campaigns. So
right.
I just wanted to ask that you must have tested that. So can we directly jump to it and without, not running manual campaigns? And because AI has become so powerful, we can directly jump to that.
Right.
That's it. Thank you.
Absolutely. The Performance Max and Power 5, which is the artificial intelligent way of moving your audiences and giving the audience to Google or Facebook to optimize it. What we have seen is we have seen great successes in many campaigns where the data that we initially collected was very good and the right data was fed to the business. Otherwise, it takes multiple iterations to get it right. So you need to feed the right data. And in fact, we have taken almost a 1.5 hour session on Performance Max. That video is also available. Go through that. And Power 5 is an absolute necessary to run on Facebook in the long run. Because the kind of targeting you can do is you're doing it with 3 or 5 dimensions. But Power 5 can do a combination of your audience with approximately 60, 70 dimensions that you cannot match with a human targeting. So that's very, very powerful for sure. Okay.
Got it.
And what was the previous question?
The previous question was about ROAS.
Yeah, ROAS. So let me tell you, how many of you are aware of ROAS, return on ad spend? Okay. So there is a big fight between Facebook and Apple, and that fight is going to continue. So my request to all of you is move out from ROAS and go to MER. MER is marketing efficiency ratio. That means the way we talk about is we do digital marketing, we help you with offline marketing, and we do prayers for you. Okay? And in total, look at a business level, are you winning or are you losing? So the first thing is if you are winning, be happy, smile, then get into the channel level and look at the ROAS. So MER is calculated at a business level because there are so many touch points. ROAS can sometimes be the wrong KPI that you're looking at, and especially after this changes, your ROAS is very different altogether. And in fact, on ROAS, probably we have taken a session, I don't know whether this is in public or not, but if you're still very fascinated about ROAS, you need to do a ROAS and MER calculation for 2 years back, 1 year back, and do that ratio and calculate it for the coming days. It's a very complicated thing, but you can still do ROAS and MER calculation. We have shifted most of our marketing from ROAS to MER. MER is the right way to look at it. Sometimes it can get technical, sorry for that, but altogether, anything more is required, so we'll be there on different sessions, so please take help and we'll be happy to help. Thank you so much.